Ni hao, this is the GetConnected team. This time we have a very special Between Two Nerds for you. We went to Shenzhen, China this past week, and so I am joined by Mike Agerbo and John Biehler, who were both there exploring Chinese technology. So tell us, Mike, why were we there?
Well, we were flown there by Huawei. They have been flying journalists from all over the world to get a first-hand look and account of what Huawei is all about in China. Obviously, they're having huge issues right now with the U.S., and I think, when you look at it, I don't think they've done a good enough job really voicing their side of the story and, what their culture and approach is all about. So I think they finally got that. That's why they're flying all these journalists there. And it was very eye-opening for me. I always thought that the U.S. sanctions were very politically motivated, and I think really part of the whole China trade war. And that really came home to me when we actually got to visit their manufacturing facilities, their campuses, their research centers, their cybersecurity lab. These guys have so much security when they're developing their products. I would say it's probably greater than most of the Western companies. It's just impossible for them to have a backdoor into some of this stuff.
Interesting. What would you say surprised you most about being on site at Huawei?
The sheer size of the company. In Shenzhen, it's an interesting city because in 1980 it only had 30,000 people. Now it has 12.5 million people.
Wow.
So it was set up as a special economic zone to have more investment into the country, and it really, really worked. So companies were allowed to have their own land and build buildings, bring in foreign investment. And it is crazy. Like, Huawei is one of the big companies over there, and there's so many big companies, obviously. And what I found interesting is just how big these buildings were, and surrounded by these gardens. And I've never seen so much marble in my life. And in the city, Huawei has their own bus service as well for Huawei employees.
Yeah.
So the transit buses we take, they have those, but for Huawei employees.
Yeah. And places to live, right?
Well, yeah, they have residences for their employees. They have dedicated hotels for their guests and clients that come in.
Yeah, we stayed at a Huawei hotel. It was called the Amber Prime, but it was owned by Huawei.
Yeah, and you can't book it on Expedia or anything like that.
Yeah, because I was looking for reviews and stuff.
Yeah.
There's no reviews.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not available to anyone who is not invited.
Exactly.
I suppose.
Yeah. And it was a beautiful hotel.
And so we were only a handful of journalists there from North America, right?
That's right. And our timing was interesting because when this was booked a while ago, and it was just before all the U.S. tensions started, and then when the U.S. stuff started happening, we thought for sure this would be canceled.
Oh yeah.
And they said, nope, door's still open.
Come on in to our facility.
Yeah, which I think only helped strengthen the case for them. And then while we were there, we actually got to participate in a global press conference with all the global media was there for basically for their response to the legal filings in the U.S. And it was very interesting because we're tech journalists. We're not political journalists.
Yeah, I mean, at that press conference, like BBC, Reuters, Financial Times, CBS.
Yeah.
And we're like the bad news bears of journalists.
We're showing up with our little Osmo, like, hi guys.
Exactly.
I was beside CBS, and I borrowed an audio cable from the BBC, and I'm like, hey, I'm on the big team now.
Right on.
But it was really interesting because we had spent a lot of time with the Huawei folks by then, and so we kind of knew, how some of these answers were going to go, and certainly some of the more political journalists went to places that we thought they would go to, but it was just interesting to be there, and Huawei openly invited us to participate and watch the proceedings.
So these press trips are really interesting because typically the manufacturer pays for the journalists to go to a trade event or visit the company, and that was the case with Huawei. So they pay for the plane, hotel, meals, and everything, and in hoping that you will actually do some sort of story for them. You're not obligated to, but obviously if you don't write some sort of story, you're probably not getting invited to any more trips. So it's a fine line. It's a fine line.
Yeah.
What an opportunity for us, though, as Canadian journalists, and really to be one of the few who were invited there. And why wouldn't we take that opportunity to see the insides of any campus that's a tech campus, really?
Anytime you get a chance to go see where the tech that we know and love and talk about all the time is made is fascinating to me. And I was most excited about going to their manufacturing center where they actually make the phones. So we weren't allowed to film in the facility.
It broke his heart.
Oh,
because the whole trip,
what do you mean?
He won't shut up about the robots. And we get there, you can't film in here.
Yeah.
Dang it.
No, but we got to see it.
Yes.
So we could see it with our own eyes, and the B-roll they gave us is probably better than what we'd have shot, because we would have taken like 3 days to set up all the kinds of shots that they had set up for their B-roll. So, we really got to see the whole process. And while we were there, I don't know how many phones were made while we were there, but
Well, there's one coming off the assembly line on just one assembly line every 30 seconds.
Wow.
That's a lot of phones.
Yeah.
Just.
Yeah. And
Wow.
the interesting thing was we expected robots, but humans still have a very vital role in the making and the quality control side of things.
Yeah, they got to polish the robots. They have to feed the robots with all the materials that go
parts.
into the
It's
phones.
more automation than robotics.
There's
say.
robotics.
There's robotics.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that what you were expecting?
No, it was pretty much what I was
Oh,
expecting.
okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, not only robots on the assembly line, they've got like arms going in and soldering and stuff, but there's also robots scurrying around the assembly line,
Right.
picking up parts and finished phones. I don't know where they're going, but
That
they look
reminds
pretty
me
cool.
of the little things from The Fifth Element, like cleaning things up.
Oh, totally. Totally,
it's
yeah.
exactly that. Because
Yeah.
basically, at the end of the line, there's a guy or person who is packaging phones in boxes. And he puts a box on the end. There's like a little conveyor belt, and it sits there until there's 3 boxes. The second he puts the 3rd box down, there's a robot there to take those 3 boxes away. Who knows where? Probably to some other part of the building, warehouse, truck thing. Who knows? And
It'd be good to hack one of those robots and take all those phones to your car or
Yeah.
on the parking lot.
I'm sure you wouldn't get caught at
Oh,
all.
I would.
Definitely.
I would, yeah.
Well, and this brings up a good point where it's really interesting to see where our tech is made. And as we all know, the technology sector is pretty much welcoming manufacturing things in China.
Yeah.
So the opportunity
Well, they
to
all are,
visit, to visit the place, the birthplace sort of a lot of this was fantastic. And we got so much time to explore Shenzhen, and you guys got to go to Hong Kong as well.
Yeah.
right.
So
Yeah.
Shenzhen, it's the manufacturing capital of tech in China.
Pretty much the world.
In the world. So we wanted to go to one of the markets, which you're seeing some of the footage behind here. It is freaking crazy. This entire area, city blocks, is just full of all these electronic stores.
And not just one floor.
No.
We're talking
Yeah.
like towers.
Towers.
And every floor has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stalls.
It's like, what, John? What did you see there? And he's like, I don't even know where to
Well,
begin.
look, here,
There's
this is
everything.
Huazhen Bay.
Yeah.
It's 6 floors, and every floor has a different theme, and there are literally hundreds of booths or these little stalls on every single floor. Like, look at this. There's like, in this one booth, there's hundreds, if not thousands of items there. So, I mean, you could spend millions of dollars in here, but everything from, the cheapest electronics, if you even wanted to build something from scratch, they've got it right down to the chips and the transistors.
Well, and this is where people go, especially like Kickstarter and startups and those type of things. They go there, shop for their parts. Because the thing is, in these places, you can buy one or you can buy 1 million of that thing.
Yeah.
And they'll ship it to your company or your factory or your house or whatever you want. And this is the operations. There's a whole floor dedicated to just packing and shipping.
Oh yeah, that's a whole thing. But so we've got a bunch of stuff. Like you went crazy and bought a
Got a
bunch
little
of things.
pocket drone. It shoots HD video. You can use your phone with it or a little controller. This was about, I don't know, $35, $36 Canadian.
You fired it up earlier in the office and startled me with the noise.
Yes.
But we did test it out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
The other fun thing that I found was this. It's a cassette tape for all you kids that don't know what that is. This is how we used to listen to music before Spotify and CDs. But this
But
is actually,
wait.
this
But
is
wait,
actually a
there's
power
more.
bank. You plug your phone into this, and it's very nostalgic for people that used cassette tapes. I'm sure there's probably an 8-track power bank out there somewhere.
I can only dream. So what the frightening thing though is they come in all shapes and sizes, and I think one that really caught your eye, but you're thinking, I'm not bringing this back on the plane, was one shaped like a grenade.
It was like a perfect replica of a hand grenade.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
And
going to
then-
go well at customs.
Yeah, I can't imagine that would go
No,
well.
so we didn't buy that.
Yeah.
What
Then
else
there's
did you get?
there's lots of little things like these little fans for your smartphone. You just plug it in, and especially over there because it's really hot.
I know. It's so good. These things are $2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John goes, which color would you like? Puts them on the table.
It was funny.
Perfect.
We bought you bought like handfuls.
Yeah.
I only bought 2. We should have tested them before we left the store. So
Yeah.
we got them back to the hotel room, and I thought I should test this before I get back to Canada.
And all mics didn't work.
Yeah, none of mine
really?
worked. Some of yours didn't work, so I had to trudge back down to the store.
Fortunately, it was just downstairs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we were all good.
But these are my favorite things that I sort of bought last minute in Hong Kong. The Intelligence Health Bracelet.
It's good,
So intelligent.
good marketing branding.
It's basically a Fitbit knockoff that cost 68 Hong Kong dollars, which is about, I don't know, $7 or $8
Yes.
Canadian. But then there's also this one, which is kind of like an Android Apple Watch kind of clone, and it does everything. It has a heart rate monitor, supposedly blood pressure, and your steps and all that type of stuff. And you can actually pair it with your phone, and you'll get notifications and vibrations and everything on it. But smart bracelet.
It's very smart. So what I was most happy with is before I went, I read that they do repairs over there very inexpensively,
right.
and so I just gathered up a bunch of broken Apple gear that I had, and in these markets, we went to the Apple Genius HAR. It's spelled bar wrong, yeah, HAR. And I went up to this guy and I brought a busted Apple Watch. The battery was dead. Yeah. An iPad, which the board inside was dead, and an iPhone that had to replace the screen. So if you get an iPhone, especially the newer ones like the 10s, many of these electronic repair places here in Canada, they won't even repair it because they haven't got the parts. Yeah. Apple will charge you literally $400 or $500.
Yeah. And I should have sent this along with you.
I wish I'd thought of it.
I have this Google Pixel 3 XL, and we were on a meeting, and I dropped it just flat, and it's been cracked ever since, and it's just getting worse and worse. And I think it's cost around $450 to get repaired, just the screen. So
yeah. So I had a friend's iPhone 10 Max.
Yeah.
And I think Apple, was quoting around $1,000 because both sides were broken. Yeah. Both sides are glass. It was around $1,000 to get it repaired. Over there, and I feel bad because I even haggled the guy down $160. Oh. I haggled him down $10.
Wow.
$160 freaking dollars. And so that iPad that I had busted, it was an Apple iPad Air. Couldn't even get it fixed here. Yeah. And Apple was going to charge $450 to replace it.
Basically just a replacement.
Yeah. There, $50.
What if there was repair tourism?
I'm telling you, next time I go, I am just going to contact all my friends. Yeah. And load up my backpack and just bring all this stuff.
What blew me away though was how quickly he got it done. It's literally was done in an hour. All of these devices, not just
the Apple Watch, $50.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe that's a field trip for us every year. We can just fix all our devices.
Well, I checked the plane ticket to Shenzhen because I was thinking of maybe bringing my wife. She didn't want to come in the end, but the plane ticket was only $650 return, Air Canada.
Wow. There you go. Okay.
So
pro tip.
Could be a business.
Yeah. Could be. Ideas. You got it from GetConnected first.
So the other thing that we did on this trip is we used the DJI Osmo Pocket. This was a new camera we just picked up. I really wanted it something small and portable so we could walk around the markets, and a lot of these market stalls, they don't like you taking their picture and shooting video and stuff like that. So I wanted to be kind of chill about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this shoots 4K video. You dock it with your smartphone. You can download the photos. You can edit it on your phone, and it's just been fantastic. We took it out everywhere.
The video is fantastic.
It's great quality.
Rivals like the big camera that we brought as well.
Yeah, which I loathed lugging around.
Oh, I know those.
When I had this in my pocket the whole time.
Yeah, and so you felt pretty equipped. Pretty much all the scenarios, having this one little device, and you're good to go.
Yeah, the only challenge with this device is the audio. It's got 2 speakers on board. It's really meant for vloggers to shoot their stuff really close. So any footage that I shot of Mike, I had to be fairly close with. But we've got
good though,
Yeah, it absolutely looks great.
Yeah, and we've got the audio adapter that DJI just came out with, which we tracked DJI's flagship store down in Hong Kong.
Because you needed the special adapter.
It's this tiny little plug.
Can't get it here.
Can't get it anywhere. And of course, they sold out the day before we got there. So. But
sucks to be you.
Oh well.
Yeah.
If you were to summarize one of your favorite moments, whether it was tech related or not, from our China visit, what would it be, Mike?
Just the sheer scale and audacity of the technology. Like downtown Shenzhen at night is like a disco light show. Every building is covered in LEDs and it's all coordinated and it's like a disco.
Yeah.
We were talking about how it was like being in Blade Runner.
It is total Blade Runner.
Yeah.
Total.
Yeah. And Hong Kong even very similar too, because it was a little foggy and
Hong Kong even more so because it's got the gritty alleys and streets. You almost want to see one of those hover cars come down with Deckard coming out.
That's right.
Hello, I'm here from the future. What about you, John?
My favorite thing was eating noodles in the streets, sitting on a little plastic stool in the same market that Bourdain would always go to and rave about. It was his favorite place in the world to eat noodles. And I didn't even realize that at the time that I actually ordered the same noodles that he did. He always got a wonton, noodles, and brisket.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect meal. I actually really loved all of your food photos.
Yes.
That looked great. And what was the one thing that surprised you about this experience?
I think Mike touched on it a little bit before, just the sheer scale of Huawei. I mean, I've been to the Googleplex, I've been to Apple's headquarters in Cupertino. Huawei makes them look like corner stores.
Wow.
Like there's
scale.
Just, I mean, just imagine an entire city being a company store, you know, like.
And their offices are beautiful. So unless they're hiding their employees in some underground lair,
which we asked about.
We asked about.
Did you?
Yeah, they didn't think that was very funny.
No.
The offices and the cubicles are amazing. They've got plants everywhere. The chairs look like God designed them.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
like it's amazing.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Just
So
beautiful.
they really look after their workers.
Yeah.
Again, unless they're hiding.
Well, and we went to the
Underneath.
Oxhorn, which is their new campus, which is 12 zones modeled after cities and areas of Europe. And it's just spectacular, amazingly huge. It's like Disneyland without the roller coasters and not as kitschy. Like it's actually, it felt like
beautiful.
Parts of Europe.
Yeah.
And the whole idea behind it was to make a beautiful place that employees would want to go and spend time working on their projects. And we didn't want to leave. So
I know. I just wanted to keep going on that train.
yeah.
So we have we've gone on global news. So we have our Tech Talk segment talking a little bit about some of this too. So you can watch that on our website.
Yep.
We also have some interviews in that from our time in Shenzhen. What do our viewers and fans have to look forward to, Mike?
They can see some of the manufacturing lines that we saw. They can have a peek at the big, huge European campus as well. So I think that's great.
We've got some longer
thing.
form versions of these videos if you really want to sort of feel like you're walking around in the markets and stuff. And
yeah, you can take the tour with us. And you can check all of that out on our website. You can find us on social media and also our YouTube channel at GetConnected Media. And I think that's it for this week. Next week we'll be talking about outdoor tech, so please join us then. And thanks for listening and watching.